And hello everyone who is on this webinar. I hope you can see the PowerPoint. I guess so, as no one is protesting. So we affect, we are actually, it says we affect 60 years, but we're actually 61 years old. And we were created as a result of the ICA General Assembly, which was held in 1958 in Stockholm. And during that time, there was a fundraising done. And can you kindly mute your microphone, please? And during that ICA General Assembly was a fundraising done, and with that fundraising, we affect then with the name of Cooperation Without Frontiers was created, and I think that the first project was the support to a cooperative college in India, which still exists, I think. And we were created by the Swedish cooperative movement's biggest companies and organizations, and they still sort of own us, and they are the ones that form our board, the largest cooperative companies. And the reason for existence is that we strengthen cooperatives of women and men living in poverty through membership-based democracy, long-term economic thinking, social responsibility, and transparency. Or as our board chair of my board says, solidarity with solidity. The areas of work for us is sustainable rural development, agriculture, and then also the right to adequate housing. And as you can see on the number of staff, most of our staff work outside Sweden. We have 36 staff in Sweden and a total of 21 staff in world, so 160 more or less in 5 regions of the world. Currently, we are running 0 projects in Sweden, as you can see, but 207 development projects abroad. Total turnover of 33 million euro 2018, and it's been more or less on the same level the last 4 or 5 years. We have 5 regional offices, as I said, and programs in 24 countries, but we will be phasing out Vietnam, Myanmar, Cambodia next year, but remaining in the rest of the countries. And the reason for phasing out those 3 countries is that the program is not growing there. It's quite limited in those 3 countries. Good projects, but not growing, as I said. The pictures I have chosen that can describe our organization is, if we have the one to the left describing rural development, the one to the right adequate housing. In both areas we support local cooperatives working in agriculture and housing. The main picture in the middle is the same lady, Bettina Cosero, as the one to the right. She's the chair of a housing cooperative in Uganda. And I chose this picture because our global strategy 2017 to 2021 is called gender equality. So that means that whatever we do, we'll have a focus on gender equality in all programs, all projects. And this was an easy task. On a scale 1 to 10, rate the importance of international cooperative development for we affect. It's a 10, of course, because that's the only thing we do. We don't work in Sweden. We are sort of board members of an umbrella organization called Swedish Cooperatives. But the aim of being there is to make the link to cooperative development outside Sweden. Look at the tools and methodologies we use. So we have first something we call FRAS, which is the Fair Resource Allocation System. And this is a system we had in place even before we had the gender equality as main objective for our strategy. It started 2013. That means that when we sign an agreement with partner organizations, cooperatives, they have to ensure that they will try to target 50% of resources allocated to women and girls. And in most cases, we are around 50%. If you look at the financial inclusion, financial services, saving and credit cooperatives, we are up to 80-90%. If we look at the more rural development, coffee cooperatives, milk cooperatives, then the number is lower. But overall, we are around 50%. Then we also have another tool, which is Octagon, because as we sign long-term agreements with partners, that means that one of our areas of work is the organizational development of the partners. And for that, we use a tool which is a way of measuring organizational development, but also targeting the weaker areas that need to be strengthened. Further methodology use is in the agriculture SALM, Sustainable Agricultural Land Management, a way of combating climate change. And then as we work with the human rights-based approach, I took an example of a guide that we produced 3-4 years ago on how farmers' organizations can report to the Human Rights Council in Geneva in the Universal Periodic Review processes. And these are reports we have been supporting our partners to do in several countries. Key lessons, yes, we sign long-term agreements, at least 5 years, and this we can do because we have a good framework agreement with the Swedish government that gives us a 5-year agreement each time we sign an agreement with them, which also means that we then can sign agreements with partners for 5-year periods. This funding from the government of Sweden is more or less 50% of our budget. And also another lesson learned is that we decentralize our expertise to country and regional offices. If I count the number of Swedes out in the program, I think now we are less than 10 people outside Sweden. The rest is local staff, and that is a lesson learned that gives continuity to programs and the closeness for partners to the expertise also, that is sort of ensured this way. The main donors we have is, as I said before, the government of Sweden. We have a framework agreement with them, but we also have some funding from local Swedish embassies out in the world. European Union is also a quite large donor for us. We have several non-global programs with them, but national programs through the delegations in at least at this moment in at least 5 countries. And then we have something called the postcode lottery in Sweden, which uses 50% of its income to what they call charity. And we have an agreement with them. They give us a check of some 2 million euro per year, which is undesignated funding, which we can use for things that we think is necessary that we don't have other funding for. And then if we look at the collaboration with other ICDP members, historically we've been working quite much in Eastern Africa with ICA-EU from Israel on the training programs. Also discussions with the DGRV, both in Mozambique and in Kenya, but also now looking at Southeast Asia. And with other ICA members, the Cooperative University of Kenya is a partner since at least 8 years. We support them in a program they run on cooperative leadership training for leaders from cooperatives in Kenya and Tanzania. And that is also coming up as an e-learning program, so that will be possible for also others to take part of. And then we have a core partnership agreement with the ICA Africa office in Nairobi. We give them core support, which means that we support the strategy and they choose how they use that money. This SDGs, of course, number 5, that will be a surprise if that would not be important for us. But then also, if we pick 3, we would also pick number 1, no poverty, and 2, zero hunger. And our expectations from the ICDP, yeah, this is what's happening now. We share knowledge. NC Clusa 2 weeks ago, and now us, and then Manchester Cooperative College next. So it's a good opportunity to learn from each other. But I would also like to, when we have a sort of solid database, so we see who is working where, as we have in the European platform, that we could sort of make sure that we have in-country coordination. And also coordinate advocacy work for sort of support to cooperative development. That could also be sort of a good work to do together. So that's it. Over to you.